You know that feeling in class when the lesson's either way too hard or way too easy. Now imagine a classroom that adjusts to you. Your pace, your style, even your mood. That's adaptive learning. And with AI, it just leveled up.
Adaptive learning is an approach that uses data and analytics to automatically adjust an individual student learning experience based on their performance and their behavior.
If you're breezing through math problems, it throws you a tougher one. Struggling through a history concept, it slows down and gives you a hint. Instead of one size fits all, it's one size fits you.
Adaptive learning has been around for thousands of years in the form of one-on-one personal instruction. What is defined today as modern adaptive learning began in the 1950s with B.F. Skinner's teaching machines. By the 1980s and the 1990s, computer-assisted instruction and early intelligent tutoring systems started personalizing lessons based on student performance data. But things truly advanced with the arrival of generative AI in the education sector.
The original education model was highly personalized, with systems like apprenticeships and one-on-one teaching. As society modernized during the 19th and 20th centuries, driven by industrialization and the demand for a literate, trainable workforce, education shifted to a one-size-fits-all approach. Today, we're coming full circle, using adaptive learning technologies and generative AI to reintroduce personalized learning at scale, making it accessible to far more learners than ever before. So what happens when you bridge the gap between adaptive learning and generative AI? Let's hear an analogy that illustrates how educators can create a dynamic learning environment where students are empowered to thrive.
We have the analogy between a playpen and a playground. You can think of conventional teaching as a playpen. Playground allows students to flex their imagination, to discover new ways of thinking and doing things, to make serendipitous discoveries.
The emergence of generative AI allows for a more sophisticated personalized learning and dynamic content generation, ultimately creating a playground for students to thrive within.
To go further into depth, AI-driven adaptive learning leverages large language models to learn from vast amounts of data, while small language models serve as a more precise and personalized learning assistance, where they infuse with external knowledge. This content powers adaptive testing by helping select personalized questions based on each learner's profile. This system tracks students' progress to feed the knowledge into recommendation engines to ultimately suggest the right materials at the right time. Together, these technologies form a smart, responsive system that tailors education to each student's learning journey. But let's be clear, AI is not intelligent. It doesn't understand. It generates based on patterns. Real intelligence lies within creativity, and the creation of this new knowledge still resides within humans, especially university professors. Educators aren't being replaced. They're evolving into architects of these adaptive systems, guiding how AI tools are built, interpreted, and applied. They design the framework that allows students to learn better, faster, and with greater support.
To make adaptive learning easier to understand, science fiction can be a great way to imagine what the future might look like.
Cerebral control enabled.
Arizona State University is leading the way in transforming education by accelerating learning and research through tools like ChatGPT EDU and innovative software solutions. With these technologies, we can even accelerate the rate of knowledge production. Imagine compressing what currently takes years to learn, like a full PhD, into months or even weeks. These tools don't just support learners, they amplify the capacity of human educators and researchers.
For example, ASU Math and Computer Science curriculum, MAX, uses AI-powered adaptive courseware and diagnostic tools to provide personalized math learning for ASU K-12 Preparatory Academy. The K-12 space is also embracing adaptive and generative technologies like Knewton, now part of Wiley, which delivers personalized content to support student success.
However, the digital divide continues to pose challenges in the integration of AI-driven adaptive learning. Moreover, there are concerns about data privacy and security risk, as well as algorithmic bias and discrimination. Furthermore, the integration of AI in adaptive learning means increased energy consumption, particularly for the production of semiconductors and the operation of data centers. There also exist real limitations. In some cases, AI-driven adaptive learning cannot completely replace in-person or hands-on learning. Rather, it can be used as a tool to augment a student's learning experience.
The Pygmalion effect showed that people perform better when more is expected of them. In education, students grow more when they are believed in. If this belief is reflected in adaptive learning, it can boost students' confidence and support their growth.
In response to these challenges, governments are implementing regulation to ensure responsible AI development. In 2024, Colorado enacted the Artificial Intelligence Act, which could become the first comprehensive AI regulation in the US. New regulation for AI broadly, and in the education space specifically, presents an opportunity to be thoughtful in the design of our education system.
We have to fundamentally go back to what we're truly trying to achieve through learning and education, what their purpose is in society, and then how, as educators, do we create the playgrounds that allow students to thrive with AI.
Generative AI isn't just enhancing adaptive learning, it's transforming it. By driving personalization, inclusivity, and efficiency, it's reshaping education at its core. Like a web of interconnected technologies, adaptive learning relies on advancements in generative AI, computing power, and algorithmic models. As these technologies continue to evolve ethically, they'll be used as powerful tools to amplify the creativity and educational impact of educators.